if we have to look at where it can be used, you can look at strategic level, looking at your business model, your plan, your product, your service offering, not being like the Blockbusters or the Nokias. Really constantly go and check what is happening in the world, what are our options, what are our possibilities, and how do we need to pivot these? And then every day you do it in problem solving, you do it in ideation. So yeah, anyone else, please put other uses that you think you might have. Please put it in the chat that we can share. There's a little bit of peer learning here happening, I see in the chat. It's fantastic. But if we look and just run through the tools and techniques, so brainstorming, for example, is something that we all do. A lot of companies do it. I do it in my strategy sessions with my HR clients. I do it with coaching clients. Team coaching, a lot of brainstorming happens. But the most important thing is this is where judgment, and it needs to be a safe space, needs to really happen. So no judgment, no assessment. Everyone has a voice around the table and puts an idea forward. If those ideas don't get used, then you also need to say, what is it about the idea that we are using another idea and going with that one? So you also have to be very mindful of the emotion around the table. Otherwise, you're not going to get such clear thinking. Much easier said than done. But hopefully in our subsequent talks and maybe in our course, we will be looking really deep, diving deep into how is it that you do a proper brainstorming session where you have these precursors like emotion and judgment and all those things, and very loud voices such as myself, and the quiet voices also be heard at the same and fair level. So easier said than done, but keep that in the back of your mind. So another tool, I'm really just steamrolling through it because I do believe a lot of you have been in touch with these sort of techniques, but scenario planning. What is it that you want to create? What would you like? What is the first option, the best option that you would like, first prize for your company to really, so Liesl, just with the scenario planning slide number 17, please, thank you. So if we look at what is the expected future, what is an alternative preferred future, how could it really play out? Maybe going a bit of, if it all goes down the drain, oh snap, this is terrible, let's relook at it. So it's really going and looking at what is our high risk, where are the low risks, what is a quick solution, but is it the best solution? Is it a slow solution, a slow process, but at the end of the day, it's the best outcome that we want. So it's really, you can already see imagination getting into play here. And then the next one is my favorite one, is reframing. So starting off as an entrepreneur, I absolutely still cringe when I hear 30-second elevator pitch. I had to, at the end of the day, reframe it into basically, so Liesl, just the next slide, please. So reframing it as my purpose statement sounds a lot more softer for me than a 30-second elevator pitch. But when you have a problem, you basically look at a problem from various angles and you try and reframe it. So just if you can get the slide on, I'll just use some, show some quirky little cartoons to make it as easy as possible to explain. But basically, if you look at the robots, the one is saying, is there a problem here? And they're kind of thinking that there's something to be fixed, but actually it's producing stars. So it's obviously not doing what it was supposed to be doing, but it reframed the whole perspective. So you can either see it as a problem or you can see it as an opportunity. When you look at rain you need rain to have a rainbow. And also, when you look at the girl standing in front of all the frames, how different do those pictures actually look? In a round circle, you only see the tip top of the mountain. In the white frame, you see the road with the trees. It actually looks lovely. But if you look at the other one, you see the bigger view. So from what angle are you seeing the problem or the opportunity? And how can we just swing it around, put it on its head, and look from it from a different angle? And then what sort of insights come from that? So yeah, in a nutshell, that is kind of what I would like to have shared with you. I feel like I've done a lot of talking now. So before we go out into a breakout rooms, I really just want to quickly open the floor just for 1 minute. And as you can see, we practice is what is happening here. So there's a picture that needs to go on a brick wall, and the one guy is very linear, let's just hit a nail into this wall. The girl has got a lot of options. So she's obviously been thinking of a lot of possibilities. So if any of you have any comments or maybe other tools that you use, anyone that would like to raise their hand and just share just a sentence or two with the rest of us, please.
Lloyd, do you want to give us a quick view there on this paragraph you typed?
Sorry, I've been adding to that just as Liesel's been talking, but I certainly believe that there's some important considerations that that contribute to a person's ability to think. So number one is just the actual cognitive ability. Some people are more linear, some are more creative. As Liesel had said a little bit earlier, yes, we can learn and train and grow our own abilities, but some of us are kind of more linear or more creative, if we can just sort of put it in those two streams. And then our emotional states, and I mean that very much ties into mindset, which we often talk about. But a person's emotional state, the more stressed they are, it's going to limit their ability to think more. And ages or a number of weeks ago, we spoke about that, or I spoke about that just with regards to the impact of stress on the brain, and it plays a huge role. Liesel had also mentioned that getting a little bit flustered in the beginning, just before we even started, literally our brain can start to shut down, which means our ability to think outside the box is just gone. And then just our experience and what we're exposed to, what the needs are. If we're in a situation where creativity is demanded and we have to be able to think, we're going to develop those skills. Craig, you mentioned the London bus drivers versus taxi drivers. It's because there was a need, there was a demand, and so they adapted. And just our sort of general exposure and experience that we have, if we sit around people who are all, very linear and in the box thinkers, well, we're going to be relatively limited in terms of what we are pushed or encouraged to do. So yeah, I think those are just some important considerations from our side.
To get some of the Democratising Entrepreneurship community members to come and disrupt their thinking a little bit.
Yeah.